Welcome, fellow Dexter fans. Today, we're diving into the dark mind of everyone's favorite forensic expert and moonlighting serial killer, Dexter Morgan. He's killed a lot of bad guys, but it's the weapons he used that somehow steals the show. Let's start with one of the craziest murder weapons Dexter ever used, and that is a fire extinguisher. I think it happened in New Blood, episode 6. During a tense showdown, Dexter grabbed this unexpected tool to take out a threat. It was quick, brutal, and showcased his ability to turn literally anything into a weapon. Who looks at a fire extinguisher the same after that? Not this guy. I'm going to rate that as one of the best just because it's so unique and different. There's an argument that it could be here in the middle because it's not that practical most of the time, but I think it's closer to the best just because it's unique and creative. You don't see it that often. The next weapon I'm going to talk about is the Garrett wire. I think this is probably one of the best. I would say it would be better than the fire extinguisher just because it's just more useful. It's silent. And I think it was season 3 when the Garrett wire was a chilling choice for Dexter when he took down pedophile photographer Nathan Martin. This weapon underscored Dexter's adaptability and willingness to use methods that deviated from his norm when necessary. It's also a throwback to traditional spy and mob dramas and special forces, which made it stand out within the show's modern set. So I'm going to put that in the best category. Okay, next, let's talk about hammers and sledgehammers. Now, I actually put the hammer on the worst and the sledgehammer somewhere probably in the middle, maybe a little bit better than the fire extinguisher because Dexter used these. They're not too practical, but the sledgehammer is a cool tool. Dexter used hammers to attack and take out people like Arthur Miller, like Joe Walker in the original series. I think they're cool tools, but I'm not going to put them all the way over onto the best. To me, the hammer goes over probably in the worst category, but the sledgehammer, so I'm going to put that in the middle. Okay, let's talk about another murder weapon that I think is really cool, and that's the chainsaw. And I'm not going to say it's the best one because of a classic serial killer weapon, but for Dexter, it doesn't really fit, I don't think. I'd probably put this in the middle, maybe over to the left. It's really loud. It's not very practical most of the time to use that. And Dexter seems to want to be a lot more silent and undiscovered. What's the main rule is to not get caught. So using a loud chainsaw really doesn't work too well. Even though the chainsaw isn't really Dexter's typical style, usually his kills are clean and calculated, but it's a fitting weapon for this particular killer who thrived on chaos and was a callback to the shipping container of his youth. This kill, it was all about poetic justice, matching the brutality of the perpetrator with a brutal end. It was part of this whole kill scenario. We can't talk about Dexter and kill weapons without talking about the hypodermic needle. Now, as we're seeing in the original Sin series, Dexter didn't use this method to incapacitate his victims at first, but he did eventually land on this with an animal tranquilizer. Dexter uses the hypodermic needle. It's just one of his trademarks, not from his very first kill, but a very early kill to all of his later confrontations. As often as he can, he uses the tool to safely take his victim out, at least incapacitate them, while proceeding with his ritual of putting up pictures, putting up all the plastic tarping. It's not flashy, but it is efficient and it ties into his methodical nature. Speaking of plastic wrap, every season, right from the beginning, it's a major part of the whole Dexter universe, the Dexter approach to taking out victims, to not leaving any clues. It's what we see from the very start of Dexter's life as a vigilante serial killer. It's an iconic part of Dexter's ritual. The plastic wrap isn't a traditional weapon, but it's crucial to his process. It's how he restrains his victims, ensuring that his kills are clean and controlled. Beyond that practicality, it symbolizes Dexter's meticulous nature and his attempt to keep his dark deeds separate from the rest of his life. Clearly, I'm going to put that over here on the best side. And that brings us to his knives. This is one of the MVPs of Dexter's arsenal, his knife. Whether it's a scalpel, sharp knife, or a hunting knife, it's the tool he uses most often in his ritualistic kills. He chooses ones that are precise, durable, and fit his meticulous style. From villains like the Ice Truck Killer to the Trinity Killer, this blade has ended the stories of some of the show's most unforgettable villains. It's iconic, efficient, and let's be honest, terrifyingly clean. Definitely putting this over here on the best category. Maybe I should put the fire extinguisher back over there, just because and the sledgehammer maybe too, just because it's not very practical. And they don't really fit into his character too often. Now, we really can't talk about his knife without mentioning his whole kill kit. Dexter's kill tools it's hard to avoid the word iconic. They're stored neatly in a rolled up bag that screams both efficiency and ritual. His knife set is a chilling glimpse into his meticulous mind. It features scalpels, hunting knives, bone saws, and syringes, all carefully arranged like artist brushes. While we often see him favor his trusty knife during the actual act, the bone saw is presumed to be his go to for dismemberment, making quick work of his victims before their disposal at sea. The bag itself is unassuming and clean. It reflects Dexter's precision and obsession with control. It's not just about the kill, it's about the process. All right, let's talk about the time Dexter abandoned his usual calm and collected style and went full rage mode with a boat anchor. Remember that? I think it was in season 5. Dexter was already dealing with a heartbreak. He was emotionally wrecked. He was barely holding it in. And our guy Dexter met Rankin, who decided it was a great idea to trash talk a serial killer. Dexter, obviously, he snapped. He saw a boat anchor lying around and thought, why not? Next thing you know, wham, Rankin gets an unplanned one-way ticket to the ocean floor. This wasn't this wasn't Dexter's usual surgical planned out vibe. It was raw, messy, and fueled by pure grief and anger. Actually, this scene was a major shift from Dexter's typical calculated approach. It showed us that even a meticulous vigilante can lose control when pushed too far. Moral of the story, don't poke the bear, or in this case, the serial killer. And finally, one of the strangest, most unique weapons that Dexter uses a harpoon. Now, Dexter uses the harpoon on Alberto, who is on a boat that picks up Dexter when he was left in the ocean for dead. And Alberto pulls out a gun and starts to rob all the rest of the passengers. When Alberto's distracted, Dexter moves in with the harpoon and takes him out. And I'm going to put that closer to the worst category. But I think it was a really interesting, cool, one of the few, maybe only public kills that Dexter has ever done, where people around him kept a secret. I'm sure I missed some of Dexter's murder weapons. So let me know in the comments what your favorite ones are, what's the best and worst. I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.